everybody, my name is Nicole.
My name is Isella.
And this is Muchachalacas.
Cheers!
Cheers! So today, we're coming at you with stuff that the Victorians used that they should not have used.
The killers within.
Yes, and the reason I was inspired to choose this topic is because of a tweet that went viral.
Really?
Yeah, because it was like, would a Victorian child survive a Four Loko?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and everybody was like, no. But in reality, I think it's us that wouldn't survive the Victorian era. You know, I think we're spoiled.
I think, yeah, we're just taking it for granted.
I think the Victorian child would survive like four Locos.
Nothing compared to what this stuff is.
But
that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, a Four Loko has got nothing on this shit.
I'll say, I don't think I've ever had a Four Loko, so
good.
But like, lucky you.
Good, yeah, lucky you. It's not a good night. Anyway, so that was what inspired the topic for today, because the Victorian era is fascinating.
I honestly, I think it's interesting, but I never thought about it before, like, I started researching for this.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I also didn't watch Bridgerton, so.
I don't even know if Bridgerton was, like, Victorian era.
It's not.
I
think it's, like, recent history, isn't it?
I think it's, like, before Victorian era, because Victorian era is when they started to have, like, child labor and shit because of the machines and electricity.
Yikes.
Yeah, so I think Bridgerton took place, like, way before.
That's crazy.
Anyway, Victorians, crazy. How did humans, like, survive that era? No idea how we're still here today. But I hope you guys like this episode.
Okay, so before we start, we just want to say, big disclaimer, some heavy topics during this conversation.
Yeah, if you don't like to hear about, like, death, especially child death, and maybe other sort of kind of
just intense
sensitive topics.
Yeah, sensitive topics. Be wary.
Maybe don't watch this episode if you don't like to talk about those kinds of topics, about death in particular. You can just join us next time. It's okay. But if you're okay with it, then proceed. We just wanted to give a warning. Yeah, we just wanted to give a warning. Yes. Some of these topics are kind of dark.
Kind of heavy.
Kind of very heavy. But, yeah.
But why is it called Victorian?
Because it was when Queen Victoria was ruling over England.
Imagine being so powerful that they name a whole era after you.
It's funny enough, like, every monarch that has gone by in the history, up until, like, Queen Elizabeth, they all had, like, their era named after them. So it was, like, the Georgian era, the Edwardian era,
so why
Elizabethan era.
So they didn't call her, like, that era for her? Rude.
From what I know, no. But also, these were, like, hundreds of years ago. So maybe in, like, a couple hundred years,
they'll be like, yeah, and
the
then
Elizabethan #2 era.
They say Trisha Paytas's baby was reincarnated.
I forgot that was the thing.
That's crazy. I don't know, off topic, she made a TikTok saying that she has nothing to do with the royal family. And
I think it's a good thing she clarified.
She was like, you guys just think I'm so powerful. This is so funny. Anyways, yeah, so as you're someone who is into it and someone who isn't into it, I found it very interesting learning what I learned for this episode.
I'm a big history buff, so I know a lot of things about, like, history that there's no reason for me to know.
You're staying educated on
things, I guess. Just, like, random things interest me.
I love it.
But yeah, so these are, like, the silent killer. Well, not so silent.
What is the word that they use for this? Is it the killers within? Is it Victorian killers? What should we call it?
I like the killers within.
Sounds so scary.
It's so deep.
It's so preventative. Preventable.
Yeah, all of these deaths could have been prevented. Literally. Crazy.
Also, before we start, take a minute to appreciate the hats that Nicole made us.
I'm a crochet girl too.
I love it.
Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna go first, and I'm gonna talk about flammable clothing. Because I feel like all cloth is flammable, but they just didn't think about it that much back then.
Was it even more flammable back then?
Well, yeah, but the things that they... Okay, so basically... Okay, mine takes place in 1832. Okay?
Okay.
So, they were calling them burning ballerinas. That's a crazy title.
That's not good.
And I hate saying that out loud, but that's what I have written down. So I think when you think of like a fancy dress like that, like a wedding dress or a veil, you think of tulle, right?
Yeah. Oh.
So that's what these are made out of. They're made to represent like these beautiful mystical creatures.
Very like light and fluffy.
Yeah. A poof of white.
Of
pink. Yeah. So these ballerinas would be giving their performances and dancing across the stage, and then suddenly one ballerina would dance too close to the gaslight because they didn't have that kind of electricity yet to... Yeah. And it would just spread like a wildfire. Yeah. And it just always happened. It was so common in the ballet community.
No way.
Yeah. And so...
Damn, that's a first for me. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. So this specific case of this ballerina was about Marie... I don't want to butcher her name. Marie Taglioni? Lione? I don't know.
Lione.
But yes, so she danced too close to a gaslit, like, lamp, I would assume, and then burst into flames. Could have been prevented, could have put the light somewhere else, could have caged the lights, could have done, set barriers so where the dancers could dance, I don't know, but they didn't want to spend the money.
No,
so
quite literally, they could have put, like, a rope so the dancers couldn't
just go too
above.
far. Yeah,
that is insane.
But it cost money and they didn't want to do that.
How much can a rope cost you?
I feel like rope is, I know it's not like a natural resource, but I feel like it is
I feel
very
like it's pretty common. Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
it's pretty common to the point that you'd be able to like buy it for cheap.
Yeah.
Even back then.
Yeah.
Everybody had a rope.
So it just became a common thing. It's enough to the point where Charles Dickens published Great Expectations. I've never read it. I've heard of it.
I mean, I've heard of it, yeah, but...
But it ends with a woman's dress going up into flames. Spoiler alert, that's how it ends. And
it's okay, I didn't plan on reading it anytime soon.
And it didn't come to a shock for the people reading it. Because it came out in 1861. So, it didn't come as a shock because it was so common back then for women to just catch on fire.
What?
And, yeah, so I had this quote written down from 1858 that says, "We would suggest every lady wearing a crinoline, like the hooped skirts." I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. Should be accompanied by a footman with a pail of water. They were advised to walk around with water in case they caught on fire. That's crazy, isn't it?
Oh my god.
So, I've compiled a little list of some people that this happened to. There was Margaret Davy, 14 years old. She was reaching for something near a fireplace. Just out of pure unluckiness, there was a gust of air, a spark that came out of the fire, and that ended that.
Oh my god.
Yeah. This
is so bad.
I know. We're starting off on such a dark note.
Oh god.
There was the Archduchess? Archduchess. Malfide of Austria. There was Mary and Emily, who were the half-sisters of Oscar Wilde. There was 250,000 people in a church in Chile.
At one time? They all just...
It happened to one person, and then it just...
kept happening? Like, it just, like, domino affected to everybody who was there?
That was wearing dresses. But not the men. The men were fine.
This sounds like a curse.
Right.
This sounds like a man probably... I'm just kidding. But,
so it became... Crazy. Yeah, it became a thing where, you know, like a princess will wear a big round dress. And, you know, there's wire underneath it. There's hoops. There's... I don't know how to say it. Crinoline. And the crinoline is very flammable. So it's basic... From my understanding, I think it was like a wooden skirt.
Wooden hoops?
Yeah.
And then like the material?
The cloth on top of it, yeah. So what went on top of it was tulle. It was silk, lace. It was...
all the flammable things.
Yeah. And to make it worse, okay, these women would not wash them like we would. We put soap, we put, you know, something like that in it. They would wash it with cleaning fluid. And guess what's in the cleaning fluid? Like kerosene and petroleum.
No fucking way.
So they would take the spots out with those things. So obviously it makes it 10 times more flammable. Like, that's so bad.
That's horrible.
Yes, so...
I feel like 1860, I mean, it's a long time ago, but, like, if you think about it, it wasn't, like, that long ago.
When you look at history, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that long ago. Yeah, so eventually over time, it's that... I wrote that, like, work dress codes changed, so, like, you can't wear anything big, you can't, like, smaller skirts, no hoops. And then it prevented the fires from happening. So, like, I don't know. Yeah, it could have been preventable. I'm sure people knew that it was happening.
Do you think there was, like, survivors, or did they just, like, burn up and die?
I'm sure there had to have been survivors. Like, they probably weren't in good condition after, but there was probably survivors.
Are you kidding me? I'd be so afraid to wear a dress.
I know, and they had to wear dresses, because that was the dress code back then.
Yeah, you'd be, like, arrested if you didn't have a dress on.
Absolutely were not wearing pants.
Like, yikes.
Instead of that, but I just thought it was crazy, because, I don't know, to us, we're like, duh, just don't get so close to the flame. But then it's like, what were they thinking about?
They obviously didn't see a problem with it.
I know. And I just...
Technology was not technologing.
It wasn't technology. And I don't know, I think it's crazy too, because it said that, like wedding veils too, there's, like, you know, the gap between the back of your head and the veil, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's like a pocket of air that's just sitting there waiting for fire to catch, you know, to spread. Isn't that sad? Like, it's just so preventable. What were they doing back then?
No, literally, that was horrible.
Yeah, what a
nice start.
A dark start. But
it's okay, it's not gonna get any brighter.
Yeah, that was my first one. I just picked it because couldn't believe it.
I can't believe it. I'm in shock. That's crazy. Poor women. No, literally, with that, pobrecitas.
I know.
I'm going to be talking about all of the poisons that people use that were considered, like, okay.
It was, like, normal.
Yeah, normal to use them. And the thing about the Victorians is that they, like, knew that some of these were poisons.
And they just kept
using it because they were surrounded by death. You could be killed by the electricity. You could be killed by the water. You could be killed by the plague, you know, disease,
so true. It was
smallpox.
So normal.
People were dying left and right. And they were like, you know, what's this gonna do to me? Like, what's it gonna do?
Imagine having that mindset today. That's crazy.
So the first substance that I'm going to be talking about, which is very common, everybody knows that this was used back in the day, but I'm going to be talking about lead.
Lead.
Specifically how women were using lead.
That's
Yes.
just a crazy sentence to say. How women are using lead.
Well, it's because it's how women were using lead. But basically, women, specifically socialites, back in these times, and I want to say it's Victorian times because they did use it in Victorian times, but they were using this before then.
Just always.
Just for like hundreds of years.
Just for
a very,
centuries.
Very long. But so yeah, royalty, socialites, people with influence, money, power, they all wanted to show off their wealth, their status, and
as one does.
as one does. But back in the day, obviously, it was very different. So
it meant a lot more.
Yeah. So they used to want pale, smooth skin, and the paler their skin was, the better.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So basically, it was symbolizing status because not having to work and expose their skin to the sun showed how wealthy they were.
What a sentence.
So they didn't have to tan, basically.
It's so opposite now.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. Because now it's like you want your spray tan. You want to look like you have color.
Circa Jersey Shore era.
Orange, like, if it's not giving orange, what are you doing?
Are you doing it right? No.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically, the whiter their skin was, the better. So women started using, men too, for a period of time. Men did this too. But mainly women. They used to use lead-based makeup that was white to paint their faces to achieve this, like, translucent look. Yeah, so in this time period, I guess I should start with, like, you know, there was a lot of disease. And one of the diseases that was really taking over was tuberculosis.
Not
okay.
tuberculosis.
So it was deadly and contagious, obviously. And apparently tuberculosis gives you a very pale look with rosy cheeks and very red lips. And women in this time period started to envy the look that these tuberculosis patients had.
They were romanticizing.
No, they were. They were going out of their way to get tuberculosis. They would go to
just
like
for the look,
just
for the fashion.
Look. Little did they know it was incredibly deadly.
Little did they know.
I mean,
it was a disease.
No, like it was so deadly. And they were going, like, out of their way to go to these places, get the disease so they can achieve the look. Which is insane to me.
It's giving Ozempic.
Yeah. But, yeah, so these people were literally going to these lengths to get the white, translucent, dead look.
That's crazy.
And you're gonna find that getting this, like, dead look, like this corpse-like look, is very popular in this time period. And I think it's because they were surrounded by death so often.
It was trendy.
It was trendy, yeah. So
that's insane.
Yeah. And so typically the only products that women could openly use, because makeup was also very taboo around this time, so the only products that they could be seen putting on is like powder and cold cream. So a lot of their products had to be bought on the low. They couldn't just go to the store and get makeup.
Interesting.
Which is insane to me now, because who cares?
That's what we do.
Yeah. But there was 2 looks that people typically went for back in the day, according to this article I read. So you were either like an English rose, which was like the no makeup of the day. Yeah, it was what it was.
Oh, that's funny.
So people either did like the English rose look or they did the painted look. So for the English rose, it was, let me just quote what the article said, because this is crazy to me. Excuse me. So it was like, to keep the face fresh, she advises coating the face with opium overnight, followed with a brisk wash of ammonia in the morning. For the woman with sparse eyebrows and eyelashes, mercury was often recommended as a nightly eye treatment, eradicating the need to use heavy makeup. The look of the consumptive, which consumption was how they called tuberculosis. So consumptive was very desirable. The woman with watery eyes and pale skin, which of course was from the cadaver in the throes of death.
The cadaver?
Yeah. So they would like
So bad.
put mercury around their eyes. And I will talk about that in a little bit, but like, yeah, so that was like what a routine looked like.
Might get ready with me.
So that was like one of the looks. It was like the natural look. And then the painted look, which I'll put a picture of what the painted look looked like, because this lady became very famous for it. So the picture is of Virginie Gautreau. Virginie Gautreau. And it was I don't know who Sargent is, but he painted a portrait of her, and the portrait's name is Madame X. And she was admired and hated for the sensualization of her corpse-like skin. And basically what she did, so she's going for the painted look. This is the opposite, right? But she would go out of her way. So she didn't use lead. She used like enamel, which is not good. And she would paint her face and her arms. Can you imagine? These women literally had to like stand like statues because the paint would crack.
Yeah, that would be humiliating if your paint cracked.
Yeah. And then she would use indigo dye to paint the veins on her arms.
She's doing too much.
It was insane. But the thing is that lead obviously is poisonous and it's corrosive. So it would start... So women would have to keep using more each time that they used it to achieve the same look, because it started to decay their face, their skin.
Ew.
So they used to have to keep macking on and more until they could get the look. So obviously that's not good, because they're just getting more lead on their skin.
So did they do this every day, like in their morning, or is this like a one time for a couple of days kind of thing? Ooh.
This was like a morning routine, and I'll get into like what a morning routine looked like. I think I quoted it in one of these. But one of like the most iconic people in history that I can refer to this is Queen Elizabeth I of England. And she was known
the icon of the time.
She's like one of the most iconic people because of her look. Like her look, signature. Like you can look at a portrait of her and you know exactly who that is.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you know who she is.
You know who she is. But so she was known as the Virgin Queen. So first of all, she was the daughter of Anne Boleyn, I think King Henry VIII. Yes. So she was the daughter of them. And she had two siblings that were alive before her, but they died, and she was like the only successor.
Isn't that crazy? Off topic, how it was so normal for
people to die?
Yeah. Like, yeah. No, but like, it was like a more chance that your kid would survive instead of die.
Well, you mean the opposite? It was more likely that they would die instead of survive.
No, like you were lucky if your kid survived.
Oh, yeah.
That's an insane statistic.
I thought you said it was more likely that your kid would survive. I was like, wait. Are you sure?
Something's not right.
Yeah.
Maybe I did say that.
Girl, you barely had a chance to survive if you had a kid.
No, literally.
Like, So, I don't know.
That would, that girl on TikTok with the list of reasons why not to have kids?
Don't have a kid in the Victorian era?
That's on the list.
Yeah. Totally avoiding that.
You're like, I think we're okay.
I think we're good. But, so Queen Elizabeth, the daughter of King Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn, which also, King Henry VIII, wild. He used to, like, kill all of his wives because they couldn't give him a son.
Oh, yes. I've heard about that.
And funny enough, his daughter ended up the queen.
That's karma.
Yeah.
Instant karma.
Literally. Anyway, so she was known as the Virgin Queen because she refused to marry anybody. She would keep saying that she was married to England, like the Kingdom of England, and she never had kids, so she was like the Virgin Queen.
So funny.
Yeah, it's crazy. But
she's like, I'm married to my job.
No, quite literally. one who began
That's
that.
real.
But, so she became the queen, and when she was about 29, 30 years old, in 1562, she became ill with smallpox. And if you know anything, back in the day,
if you know anything,
back in the day,
about
smallpox
back in the
was
day.
incredibly deadly. There was about a 30% chance that you would live
Yeah.
if you got smallpox.
Bananas.
Crazy. And now it's eradicated. Vaccines,
It's,
right?
Yeah, but like the fact that they were just like, oh, new disease. Oh, it's the plague.
Yeah.
It was just so normal. Like COVID happened and we were like, pandemic. But
I don't think these people were very calm, but I think
you're like,
I'm pretty sure they were also like, but it happened so often that they were probably like,
you're like,
Yeah.
You're like, you had to be there.
Yeah. I feel like they would just see a corpse and like walk over it, you know?
Ooh.
I don't know. But she ended up getting smallpox in 1562, and miraculously she ended up surviving. However,
period.
okay, so it's very known that the queen was very vain. She was always very concerned with her looks and how she was presented.
She's the queen.
Yeah, and like, but before she got smallpox, everybody was like, she's so beautiful, she has like this smooth skin, she's all this, she's all that, right?
Yeah.
And so when she gets smallpox, it leaves her skin full of like scars.
Mm-hmm.
So she used Venetian ceruse, which is a white lead-based makeup, to start covering, because the Venetian ceruse was actually very popular back in the day to cover up scars and stuff like that.
So did she already wear makeup like that before?
No, I don't think she did.
Oh, okay.
She was just natural her. And then after she got the smallpox, then she started to cover it up with the Venetian ceruse. And so she started using this white lead-based makeup, and then she also started using a lipstick called Cinnabar, or I don't know if it's a lipstick, but she started using Cinnabar to like paint her lips red, which is made of mercury. So
it's crazy in my head,
not much
like,
better
hearing these stories, because like I know that they were real people, but like we've heard about them for so long that it's just like they feel like they're not. I don't know.
Like,
do you know what I
like,
mean?
Yeah.
And
no,
so
I
like,
understand.
Like the thought of someone making these decisions in real time, I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah, but at the same time, she didn't know.
I know, but like
you don't know. Like, how many things do we do now that in like 100 years from now they're gonna be like,
they put their phones in their pockets.
they're gonna be like, they were injecting their face with Botox. Do they know what's in Botox?
They put mascara on their eyelashes.
Yeah. So like, you know, like how many things do we do now that in the future they're gonna be like, oh, that was a big no.
That's so crazy to think about.
Yeah, and we have no idea. And so I just think, you know, like, damn, sucks to suck, I guess. So she started using this like mercury cinnabar, and over time, because lead causes severe damage to your skin, it actually worsened her skin rather than made it better. So she used to have to use more and more to cover up these imperfections, which just like kept making it worse, because it's like you have a sore on your face and you just keep macking on the makeup, which is what caused it in the first place. And it's literally known that the specific kind she used, it was lead mixed with vinegar, which makes it easier for your skin to absorb.
Sounds like it would really dry it.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. And literally, I'd put it on here. It's very drying. But it would also cause hair loss and skin shedding. Yeah. So,
Ew.
And then because she was losing her hair because of the lead, she started wearing this wig. And this wig was dyed red, and the dye contained mercury.
So was she like fully bald putting on this wig?
I guess she was, or she just had like big patches missing because of the lead.
And did the wig resemble what her hair looked like before, or was it just?
No, you know
so
what?
She just came back one day randomly with a
She
whole.
started just like looking. So I think that was her hair before. It was like blonde.
Oh, I see.
And then that was
She
her
came
by
in-
the end of it.
She
became the Red Queen.
That picture is crazy.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get to that. So like, so she started using this wig, which obviously poisoned her even more over time, because now she's combining mercury and lead. And worst of all, so the way that she applied her makeup, I think, was what caused it to be the worst part of it all. She would leave the makeup on for a week straight with her, like, daily touch-ups, right?
Destroying her skin.
Yeah, and she would have her, like, her touch-ups, and then she would wash it off before reapplying it. And get this, she used to wash it off with a mixture of mercury, eggshells, and alum. I don't know what alum is.
Like aluminum?
Aluminum? I don't know. I don't think that was... I don't know if they had aluminum back then. But, you know, it doesn't sound good. Eggshells?
Either way, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah. That face routine doesn't sound very good. Mm-mm. But, a lot of people believe that the makeup and, like, her routines is what led to her death. And she died in 1603. So she was only a ruler for, like, 49 years? 45 years? Something like that.
Seems like a long time, though.
For their age? Yeah. So it is said that when the queen died, her makeup was an inch thick and her teeth were rotted black because all of these ingredients caused teeth rotting.
Oh my God.
And I think it was also believed that she had a big sweet tooth, so she would eat a lot of sweets as well. That obviously doesn't help. But her teeth...
On top of the...
yeah, on top of everything else. Yeah. So you can just imagine how wild she looked. Her face was like white. Like white.
And all because of smallpox?
And all because it started with smallpox. But her face, an inch thick of makeup when she died, that's insane.
Isn't that like this much?
That's like this much. That's fucking crazy. Can you imagine
that's not
wearing
even her
that?
face anymore.
That's all lead.
That's so bad.
That's horrible. But yeah, her makeup was an inch thick, and her teeth were rotten black. And it's said, it is said that as she got older, she refused to look at herself in mirrors and became very depressed. And her cognitive and physical ability actually declined, which are all symptoms, again, of, like, mercury and lead, which is, like, depression, cognitive ability, physical ability, everything goes down.
It sucks that she thought she looked ugly, and it just made it so much worse. So much worse for her.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Like, again, preventable.
Yeah.
Has she just not used it, you know? And then it also said that she would refuse to rest and would stand for hours on end because she felt weak from her physical condition. And she was afraid to lay down to rest and die.
Oh my God.
Which is horrible.
That's not good.
Yeah. And then when she finally did die, they refused... Oh, also, before she died, she refused to let doctors see her. Like, she didn't want anybody to see her.
Do you think it's because she knows that they would say...
She just didn't want them to tell her that she was dying, I think. I don't know. But she, like, refused to let doctors see her. And then when she finally did die... They refused to do a post-mortem autopsy, so we don't know for sure what happened.
Do you think it was, like, for her wishes that...
in one of the articles I read, it's because they wanted to preserve her virgin status, and she was known as the Virgin Queen.
So, like, out of respect.
Yeah.
Took that from him.
You know, I was like,
I saw him reach for the tag, and I was like, oh, no.
Yeah. But yeah, so a lot of people think it's to preserve the virgin status. Others think it's because the queen she was always so vain, and she was always so concerned about her looks, and in the end, it's what ended up killing her.
That's a lot of bad things.
Yeah, and they think that it's because of her condition of how she was looking that she didn't want anybody to see her, so that's why she didn't want to do an autopsy. So we don't know exactly what she died for. Some people think she died because of her coronation ring, which apparently she didn't take off in the 45 years that she was a queen, so the meat, like, grew around it and she got sepsis from it.
The meat grew around it.
The skin.
Either way you describe it, it's still crazy.
But they think it caused sepsis and that's why she died. Another think that she got pneumonia. I don't know. We really don't know.
Honestly, but they probably could have covered it up very differently and been like, plague.
Smallpox again.
What a shame. But, like, that's really bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
It's really, really bad. And it sucks.
Yeah.
So, that was lead. And obviously she used a lot of mercury.
Mm-hmm.
And mercury was used for a bunch of other things too.
Mm-hmm.
So it was used obviously as a poison, but it was also used for rouge, like on your cheeks and for your lips.
Mm-hmm.
It was used as a whitening agent for your skin. It was used as an eye treatment for people with sparse brows and lashes, because it would create the redness around your eyes, and it would also give you a watery eye look. And because they loved looking like corpses, that's what they wanted.
How did they know that these things did that to them? Like,
I don't know. Somebody
who
experimented.
Yeah.
It was also used to... They would, like, mix it with animal fat to treat, like, skin ailments, like psoriasis. And they would also use it as... There was a thing called mercury salts, and they would mix it with, like, alcohol or water. Just as medicine. You would drink it. And the bad part about this is that mercury just keeps accumulating in your body, so the more you take, the more it affects you. So it can like lead to loose teeth, it can lead to stomach ulcers, nerve damage, cancer, death, you know.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy that mercury was so bad that they removed them from like thermometers, you know.
Mercury is so bad. Like, all of these things are so bad.
Like a mercury spill shuts down the whole school.
Yeah.
For
quite
days.
literally. Yeah. It's crazy. People were straight up applying it in their eyes. Just insane. Insane. Oh, and then to achieve that look, like the watery eye look, they used to use these drops called Bella Nova or something like that, which would eventually lead to... the drops would eventually lead to blindness. And if you couldn't use that to give you the watery eye look, you would quite literally drop lemon juice in your eye.
Okay, it's bad, but like it doesn't sound as bad.
Are you kidding me? The one time I've been like sprayed with lemon in my eye, I wanted to like, you know.
It hurts. But
imagine doing that on purpose to achieve a look.
It sounds better than pouring a poison in your eye.
Okay, but they didn't know.
Still, they should have known. They should have known. They should have taken notes from the queen, being like, "Oh, they should have pieced it all together. She did all this." And
no, because to them it was just like an iconic look of hers.
That's wild.
They just thought that she aged really bad. They didn't think anything of it. Crazy, huh? Crazy.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, and then like the last one I want to talk about, which I just think it's wild that people used to use this, but ammonia.
Ammonia, like what you used to mop the floors with.
Yeah, like ammonia.
Yeah.
They would use ammonia to cleanse their faces. So there used to be these like beauty columns called the Ugly Girl Papers, and and they would be very contradicting, whatever. So in one of them, it claims that ammonia is the most healthful and efficient stimulus for hair, so they would constantly use it to wash their hair to stimulate hair growth. But then they also say that you should use it to remove unwanted hair. So I'm like, which is it then? I don't know. And then women were also obsessed with trying to achieve like a perfect white smile, which is, I didn't know that. So to whiten it, they used to use a mixture of ammonia and charcoal. And although, yeah, it did like whiten their teeth, it would lead to gum irritation, enamel erosion, and other dental problems.
How old do you think these ladies were?
Our age.
They should have been at the club.
Oh, sure. At the pub.
At
the gentleman's club. Insane.
That's crazy how they had easier access to that than they did water.
Yeah, quite literally. Isn't that crazy? But that was it for my first few poisons. Which, if you guys didn't know, I'm assuming most people know, but like lead, mercury, ammonia, they're like very, very toxic substances.
Yeah. One time in my school, they had old thermometers, and one of them did break, and they had to like lock the classroom down for a couple of weeks, and every student in that classroom, they had to like get rid of all of their stuff, like they burnt them or something like that, and then they had to give like their clothes away, like they had to replace everything.
What?
Yeah. And I don't even know, because it wasn't like thermometers that they used, they were just like stored, and one just happened to get out, and I don't know. I wasn't in the class, but it was like a big deal. Like, we weren't allowed to talk to those kids, and the teacher, like...
They were, like, quarantined?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's how bad it is. Like, it didn't even touch those kids, and they had to burn all of their stuff. Okay, anyways, so this one is about babies back then. So, like, we were talking about earlier how the lifespan of people was not great. Yeah. It was just, like, you were lucky if you made it older than a certain age.
That's why I'm saying, like, I'm surprised humanity made it past these years.
Some tough people.
Literally, just genes, really, natural selection would have taken me out within, like 2 years.
Would you have followed the arsenic and lead trail?
Probably, yeah. Had I been alive in that time? Oh, yeah.
Like the Kendall Jenner was like, this was Coachella. It was a vibe at the time.
No, literally, it was a vibe at the time.
Yeah, so for mine takes place also during the same time period. It's about babies and their, like, milk bottles. They're what we would just call, like, a normal...
Like, baby bottle?
Baby bottle, yeah. So these ones were designed very creatively. They were shaped like banjos, right? So, like, a circle with a little top, okay? And then at the top, a rubber tube that ended with, like,
hose?
That ended with, like, a...
Sucker.
Yeah, like a pacifier looking thing.
Wait, I want to see this.
Yeah, put the picture here. My description probably wasn't that good. Mm-hmm. But it was made out of earthenware and glass. So...
That doesn't sound safe.
Yeah. So it was earthenware, glass, rubber, and then the topper.
That's wild.
Doesn't that look very choke hazardy?
That doesn't look safe.
Yes. So these bottles were marketed towards the mothers who maybe had trouble breastfeeding or just couldn't find the time to feed their kids. So, like...
Wild.
The ones that just needed to attend other duties, like, around their house and stuff like that. But it was, like, a helpful alternative, right? Which is crazy. So this bottle had multiple different marketing names, things to get the moms buying, you know? So they had marketing names, and the first one was Little Cherub. Another one was Mummy's Darlings. Like, mummy.
Oh my gosh.
There was the Little Alexandra, or Alexandria, the National, the Victorian, and the Empire. And I have, like, a little theory that I saw that I think that they called it the Empire to convince mothers that they were, like, supporting, you know, like,
Empire?
Yeah, they're supporting their country. Like, buying this bottle is good because you're working with your leaders. I don't know. Oh. Like, I just feel like that was a big marketing play, but I digress, I guess. But anyways, so these bottles, once you realize how they're shaped and what they're made out of, you can't just, like, unscrew it and clean it, you know? So they became really inconvenient for cleaning purposes, right? Oh. Like, back in the day, you know how there's some really creative ways to clean glasses now? They make longer sponges, like, just different things.
They didn't have that back then.
No. So,
damn.
A lot of this residue was stored at the bottom of the glass, you know, the part that couldn't be cleaned. And then, along with that, a lot of bacteria collected in the rubber part, and it just stuck to the walls of it.
Oh!
Yeah. So, a lot of bacteria, milk, whatever they put in those, it was getting stuck inside of there. So, obviously, when stuff is stored like that and collected, it's gonna create a breeding ground for infections.
Oh my god.
And then I also wrote down that the tops, like the
pacifier tops?
Yeah, that part, they were left on for 2 to 3 weeks without being cleaned, just because it was more convenient to leave them on there. wild. That's so bad.
Yikes.
That's so long.
But the saddest part about it is that, like, these mothers actually thought that they were helping.
Yeah.
And they thought they were doing something good for their baby.
They're like, well, if I can't personally breastfeed, like, this is the next alternative.
Yeah, and if you can't, like, afford to hire, like, a wet nurse or something, this would be the alternative, but you're actually, like, killing your child.
Yeah.
Whatever baby survived this, like, strong as hell, bro.
Mm-hmm. That's, like, so
like,
not...
literally, immune system,
yeah.
like,
yeah.
perfect.
So, this stuff, this bacteria, this infections would lead to intestinal diseases, right? So it'll lead to diarrhea, which leads to dehydration, which lethal. It's lethal. And so the dehydration led to death within 48 hours. Pretty fast.
Oh my god.
And this bacteria, when you're drinking out of it, it'll get stuck in your throat, which will also trickle down into your lungs, leading to pneumonia, also to death. And so if infant pneumonia was the leading cause... Whoa, hold on. Let me say that. Infant pneumonia was the leading cause of death at the time. And most of the time, 15% of babies died in their first year of life because of this. It seems like it's not a lot, but that is so much.
Especially because, like, the world population was not that much.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so horrible.
Yeah. After this, these bottles became known as murder bottles because they were killing babies.
Oh god.
Or they were leading to death for little kids. During this time period, they thought that it was just an act of God, you know?
That they were, like, killing...
Yeah. Maybe
well, they
my
weren't
child
killing it, but, like...
They were dying from it, yeah. And they were like, maybe my child wasn't meant to survive.
Oh,
but then,
that's heartbreaking.
Then the 19th century, they're like, no, there was a reason for this. And it was bacteria. And it was all this stuff. Like, once science became a thing...
Because they probably didn't even know what germs were.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought it was crazy too, because I don't know if you've heard, but this is kind of a thing happening right now with those Owala water bottles. So this girl went on TikTok. Long story short, she was inhaling black mold because she didn't clean the inside of the lid. So the water and the moisture was just accumulating in there. And she was so sick for weeks and they could never tell her why. It was because she was inhaling all of that stuff, ingesting all that stuff.
Oh
and
my God.
That's like a thing. I've seen people not cleaning their Stanleys correctly. Like I've seen, just like any water bottle, people just aren't cleaning them properly and it's causing them to get sick. And I'm like, that's eerily scary to like...
To think about, just like not cleaning something properly and you're gone.
It's so similar. So moral of...
And we have technology.
Yeah. Moral of the story is wash your dishes.
What? Disinfect your stuff.
Yeah.
God, don't be lazy.
Like, it's like people don't want to work these days. But I just think that's
terrible.
It's so bad.
It's terrible.
And it's sad.
It makes me so sad because can you imagine how many babies just, had literally a full life ahead of them? Had they just not drink from that bottle?
Like we've been saying, preventable.
Yeah, preventable. Completely preventable. I'm like seriously convinced that in like 50 years, people are going to be like, y'all were injecting your faces with Botox? Or like y'all were drinking birth control pills?
Yikes.
Like y'all were letting them put implants in you?
Yeah.
Like I genuinely feel like that's what's going to happen.
No, for sure.
Like genuinely. And anybody who went through any of those procedures is gonna get like...
You put earbuds in your ears?
You purchased AirPods? Knowing what was in them?
No. No clue.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I trusted whoever made them.
If history repeats itself.
No, quite literally. There's gonna be like a substance around here.
You guys sat on chairs while you filmed.
You guys used that light while you filmed? You know what's in it?
But yeah, that one was my last one because it's deep. It's intense, but it's like...
incredibly intense. I feel so bad.
I know, it makes
me sad.
It's terrible.
The next poison that I'm going to be talking about is arsenic. Arsenic, which we all know today to be like rat poison. So bad for you.
So bad for rats.
So bad for everybody.
Crazy that it's
crazy. So arsenic became incredibly popular in this era. And it was used for quite literally everything. Literally everything. They even used it as poison. Like, they knew it was poison.
So they knew it was deadly.
They knew it was deadly, but they were like, a little won't hurt. They genuinely thought that a little wouldn't hurt, and I'll get to it. So, back to the near-death look. Women, for some reason, were obsessed with looking like they were about to kick the bucket.
What if that was still a trend?
Low-key? 90s grudge?
It hits.
You know? Anyway, so, like, to get the near-death look, they... Okay, I'm just gonna read you the quote from the article.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was, again, with, like, the eye drops in the eyes, or, like, the citrus juice that could cause blindness. So they were encouraged to avoid the sun, obviously, because they wanted to be as pale as possible. And then they were sold a very popular product called Dr. Rose's Arsenic Complexion Wafers. Which are just that, little chalk wafers filled with arsenic for delicate nibbling. They were specifically advertised as perfectly harmless. And I will put one of the advertisements here. But yeah, it literally, like, says how it makes this woman beautiful, how it can remove your pimples, how it can make you more beautiful, it removes freckles, it removes a tan, it just, like, makes you white, whatever. And then it has, like, the soap that you can buy as well. Just crazy to me. Crazy. People were literally buying wafers to eat. They were eating arsenic on the reg to try to look near death. Yeah.
Try to look near death is...
I just think that's wild.
It is.
Ooh.
It is.
Ugh, just ugh. And if you did not know, arsenic is like a metalloid. Yeah, that's found in the earth. And if you have long-term exposure, it can cause nerve damage, kidney damage, hair loss, conjunctivitis, arsenical keratosis.
Is it a solid thing? Like, is it a...
I think you can make it a solid, yes.
Interesting.
And then it can also cause vitiligo, and it can also become addictive. So people can build up tolerance, and they end up needing more and more and more.
I don't understand.
Yeah. It's just so bad. And again, preventable. You didn't need to eat the arsenic. And they knew that it was dangerous because it was for nibbling. They knew that it had to be in tiny, tiny amounts. Because wives back then that you couldn't get divorced. So what would they use to kill their husbands? Arsenic.
Period. No.
I mean, get that money, get that back. But
do what you gotta do.
Do what you gotta do. And I think it's insane. And in one of the articles that I read, there was this actress called Lola Montez, which I guess was from the Victorian era. And she said that there was these women from the Czech Republic that used to bathe in arsenic springs because it used to give their skin a transparent whiteness. But yeah, so I guess this person was saying that once they, like, started making it a habit to go to the springs, they kept it was obligated for them to keep going because their skin kind of demanded it. And obviously their death would speedily follow, is what she said.
Oh my god.
Which is horrible. But yeah, so that was arsenic. And then they ended up using arsenic in everything. Literally everything. So in the era, the color green, like the emerald green color, became extremely popular. Maybe it was just discovered. I don't fucking know. They've never seen green before.
Just randomly, yeah, they're like, wait a minute.
They're like,
the
whoa.
most beautiful jewel.
No, deadass. And so they found out that if you mix copper with arsenic trioxide, both heavy metals.
How'd they even get trioxide?
I don't fucking know. But they found out that if you mix arsenic with the copper, it makes this emerald green. And then you can use the dye on everything. And they did. They used it on wallpaper. They used it on gowns. They used it to dye fabrics to cover their furniture. They used it for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so people thought that it wasn't dangerous if you were just, like, for example, if you were just, like, in the room and the wallpaper was there, they didn't think you could get poisoned by inhaling. They didn't think that you could by inhaling it. And the amount of, so the lethal dose of arsenic is very, you don't need a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And when women would wear, like, their gowns made with this dye,
Mm-hmm.
it was, like, 4 times the lethal amount that they were literally wearing. Like, half of the gown's weight
was
arsenic.
That. Ew.
It's just crazy. Can you imagine just being like, that is my favorite gown? And then you just...
You're like, it's made out of the rarest
dye of arsenic.
The most valuable dyes.
Crazy, huh?
It's like those people that mix a bunch of bathroom cleaning stuff to make mustard gas.
Yeah. Literally like that. Like, I don't know how these people were coming up with this, but they were literally using it, like, on the wallpaper and their furniture. They just didn't think that it was deadly if you weren't eating it. They thought that if it was just in the room, you were fine. But that's obviously crazy. Not, because when women were in their, like, on their period, they would be like, I think they were, like, locked in a room or something for the week. And if they had this green wallpaper, it was good for them.
Just, like, mixing a lot of bad things.
Yeah, it was bad. And they would get poisoned.
Ugh, that's terrible.
Yeah, and it was also used as medicine to treat skin ailments. Again, like pimples, acne, rosacea, all the stuff. It's crazy.
But, like, did it work for one person, or they're like, this?
No,
this
like, it was very popular. Like, it worked for a lot of people.
Interesting.
So, literally, the cost of beauty was death. Like, yeah, crazy. That's, like, arsenic. And then the next one I'm going to talk about, which is even, like, it's the most interesting one out of these two to me, is radium.
Radium sounds like something they'd use in SpongeBob.
So radium is a radioactive substance. It's very radioactive, incredibly radioactive. It was discovered by Marie Curie and her husband, I think in the early 1900s.
Icons.
Yeah. So, like, about 100 years ago, maybe less.
Whoa.
And it was discovered. And it became very popular because you would literally glow green with it. It would be a green radiation look.
On, like, your whole body?
On everything that you put it on.
Oh my god.
So, some of the things that people put radium on, people used it as a face cream. There was a very popular, like, French brand that did So Radia, and it was a French cream because it would help brighten a woman's complexion and it would make you glowy. Then there was, like, hair products, there was medications. So there was, like, White's Radium Hair Food, Frederick Godfrey's Renair Radioactive Antiseptic Hair Tonic, like, crazy things. And there was even, like, a socialite named Eben Byers, who died in 1932 from several cancers caused by radium because he consumed a lot of Radithor, which was like a medication that he took.
Radithor?
Yeah. Yeah, so they would literally use radium in everything. They would use it in, even as late as 1970, they would use it on, like, glass. They would use it on ceramics, dishes.
Just for the look?
Yeah. Just for the look. And they would use it specifically for, like, clocks and dials and stuff like that. But yeah, they would use it for, like, everything.
That's crazy to me that it lasted that long.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that it went up to the 70s. That's not that long ago.
It really isn't that long ago.
And they were also using it as a cancer treatment, which is crazy because it causes cancer. It's radioactive.
I'm like, how didn't they put the pieces together on that? That specifically.
I don't know. And then there's the story that I'm going to tell because it's a very famous story.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the Radium Girls. And there's even a movie about the Radium Girls, and Joey King is in it.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, I saw it a few years ago. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But it talks about, like, the Radium Girls and their story. So this takes place back in the 20s. It was during the World War.
Mm-hmm.
So
the 1920s or the 1820s?
1920s. No,
was
girl.
just-
It was discovered in the 1900s. So during the war, they started using radium to paint clocks and dials because it would help, like, the soldiers, the pilots, to see them at night without needing to use a light.
Makes sense.
And it would keep them camouflaged because the enemy wouldn't see the light being turned on. So they started using this, and they started hiring a bunch of young women to paint the clocks because they had a smaller hand, so they can do the details on the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And so the bad part about this is that, so they were using radium paint,
Mm-hmm.
right? It was literally glowing. And in order to get, like, the fine little details on with the brush and everything,
Mm-hmm.
they used to lick the tip
Oh
of the brush.
I had a feeling you were gonna.
Yeah, so they used to literally lick it, like, and then they would, like, start painting.
A
Let me
little
show
dip
you.
of water.
like that.
Would have done.
No, because they needed to get it, like, super fine, super, like, pointy.
Mm-hmm.
So they used to do that.
That's crazy.
And so, obviously, they're ingesting the radium at this point. Yeah. And so, they actually even asked the managers at the companies that they were working at if this was safe.
Mm-hmm.
And the managers were like, yeah, it's totally safe. You don't need to worry about it. Again, I don't think they knew that it was dangerous because they kept telling people that radium was, like, the secret to life,
Mm-hmm.
and that you could live 100 years if you used radium, and that it would give you a beautiful complexion, you would glow. It was, like, considered a good thing at this time. And, yeah.
No.
So, obviously, we know that this isn't true, and they were being lied to.
Mm-hmm.
And the girls became known as the Ghost Girls because they were literally glowing from the radium. Yeah. They were, like...
I can't even picture that in my head, like, what they would...
look like?
Yeah.
I know.
Like,
I can't picture it either.
Like, glowing. Like, there's a difference between, like, highlight glow.
Yeah, there's a difference between, like, a healthy
and, like,
glow
actually
and
illuminating.
then literally glow. Yeah. I don't know what they would look like, but they were quite literally glowing. It says that their skin, their hair, everything was just glowing from within, from the radium.
I'd be scared if I saw them.
Me too.
Would I have participated? No.
Well, they said that it was a very well-paying job, so a lot of people who were in need were doing it.
Uh-huh.
So soon, the girls began to experience symptoms, and one of the first girls, her name was Amelia Magia? I'm sorry, I don't know if that's, like, what it's pronounced like. Magia?
I don't know what a double G sounds like.
I'm gonna say Magia.
Magia?
I don't know. But they called her Molly.
Mm-hmm.
And she worked at Radium Luminous Materials Corp. in New Jersey. And it started with a toothache. So she got a toothache. Her tooth ended up having to be extracted.
Wait, remind me what year this is? Or is there no year?
1922.
Okay.
At least that's when she passed. But yeah, I don't know how long the symptoms went on. But this was in the 20s.
Okay.
So yeah, she started with a toothache. They extracted the tooth, and then ulcers began to form in her mouth, and she started bleeding, and it started to be pussy where her teeth had been. At this point, multiple teeth had been pulled out.
I hate that we're talking about teeth after my drink.
I'm sorry.
Ew.
And then it began to spread to her entire mouth, and then her jaw, and then it had to be removed.
Her jaw?
Yeah. So that was a big thing with radium. It was called radium jaw. That's what it would do. It would quite literally destroy it.
That's crazy. So removed because it was so destroyed, or because
it was destroyed.
Okay.
It was destroyed from the radium.
Oh my god.
And so I know. And then so after it spread to her whole body, and Molly ended up dying on September 12th, 1922 from a hemorrhage. And the doctors had literally never seen this before. They didn't know what was happening. So they said she had syphilis.
I mean, it's a guess.
Come on, syphilis is quite literally as old as time. You've probably seen 1 billion cases of syphilis, and you're gonna say that you've never seen before. Syphilis.
Well, I mean, what else would you, like, an unknown, I guess it could have just been, like, unknown causes, but...
Yeah, or they could have been like, well, what were you eating?
Yeah.
What were you ingesting?
But if the doctors removed her jaw, wouldn't they know that it was because of something she was ingesting? Even if it wasn't,
In this case, no. They didn't put 2 and 2 together. So eventually, more and more women started having the symptoms, and they were becoming deathly ill. They started getting radium jaw, cancers, tumors, anemia, like all of the things. And the employers, all like the companies, all the bad things. The companies kept denying that it was because of the radium. They just kept saying, like, no, it's not the radium.
Sue them.
I'll get to that. So then the company, because it was happening to literally everybody they hired, the company ended up hiring like an independent researcher to do a study, and it was concluded that the radium exposure was causing them to have these symptoms and die.
Called them out.
But the company refused to acknowledge these findings. They were like, no, that's not true. And they kept telling everybody that radium was safe to use. And then finally, after the findings, the girls were like, bruh. So they
What the?
Yeah, so then in 1925, Harrison Martland created a test that proved that radium was poisoning the painters and destroying their bodies. Even though it could be tested now, the companies kept trying to disprove the findings. And that's when the Radium Girls decided to fight them. They decided to sue the companies.
Good.
Yeah, but they were also women, so it was going to be rough. But in 1927, Raymond Berry became their attorney.
Okay.
And it took on the case. But the girls were literally weeks to months to, like, they were going to die.
Yeah.
They knew. So they ended up just...
Sucks.
Yeah, so they ended up just accepting, like, an out-of-court settlement. Because they quite literally were going to die before the court case was finalized. And it literally kept going. This was in 1927. It wasn't until 1938, almost 10 years later, that a woman named Catherine Wolfe Donahue sued Radium Dial Co. And she actually won. And they were officially ruling radium as not safe.
Well, I'm glad it took all that time.
Yeah. And
the same company or just like...
No, it was a different company. Because it was just like, there was a bunch of radium companies.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so...
I can't believe it took so long.
Yeah, and it was literally so bad that this lady, Catherine Wolfe Donahue, she had to give her testimony from her sickbed. And she collapsed at her hearing in Ottawa, Illinois. And she actually ended up dying before the case could be closed.
That's sad.
But she did win.
I know, but she didn't get to see the justice.
I know.
That sucks.
So she died, and this whole case with the Radium Girls actually made a bunch of, like, work safety and occupational safety developments in the United States, because before they didn't care.
Yeah.
Obviously they didn't care. But sadly a lot of people had to die. And it's said that, so the half-life of radium is 1,600 years. Meaning...
That's a lot.
Yeah, meaning the girls, they're quite literally still glowing while they're buried. Wherever they're at, they're still glowing 100 years later.
All of these people are still glowing?
No, it literally says. Yeah. Because of
Ooh.
the half-life of radium, they're going to be glowing for a long time. A long time.
Like that. I don't like that. I still can't even picture it in my head.
That was the case of the Radium Girls. Really, really sad.
That is so
It's
sad.
really bad.
And, like, kind of mortifying. Mortifying. Ugh.
Yeah, because they were literally told, like, yeah, you have to put it in your mouth and, like...
Who told them that?
The trainers, whoever trained them, they said that was the best way. And actually the scientists who ended up discovering this substance passed away from radioactive exposure.
Oh my gosh.
So everybody who comes in contact with radium quite literally passes away.
Everybody in the settlement, or like in the company, Oh, that's crazy. And the company's like, no correlation.
Yeah. Really
Are
sad.
you serious?
Yeah. But really, really sad.
That is.
Again, completely preventable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, dude, if things can be prevented,
Prevent it.
maybe prevent it. Yeah. So.
That's... Ew. Ick.
Ick. The companies were an ick.
Mm-hmm.
These people were just trying to make a living. Yeah.
What a disturbing ending, this whole video.
This entire video is kind of disturbing. Sorry about that.
It had to be discussed.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
I did too, actually.
Completely preventable deaths, like, from
100%.
from back in the day.
Way back to the
Way
1920s.
To the 1970s.
That's the most shocking part.
Yeah.
That's my takeaway for today.
So imagine what we might be using now. That's probably
in
not that
2100 they're gonna be like, ooh.
In 2100.
Yikes.
In 2121 they're gonna be like, what are they doing?
21.
That's not a real year.
2121 they're gonna be like,
Jesus Christ.
no.
So yeah, that was our episode today.
Yes.
Sorry it was so morbid.
Yeah.
Sorry it was so bad.
I hope you guys enjoyed it though and learning about the new stuff, because like we said at the beginning, like I didn't know anything about it, but now I'm like,
yikes,
blown away by the things you say.
Yeah. Flammable people, like Jesus. Glad we don't live in that era anymore.
Yeah.
And that we have more technology to kind of tell what's safe and what's not.
Science, research, technology.
Yeah, that we can, be informed before
Mm-hmm.
things, like things can be preventable.
Mm-hmm.
However, who knows? There might be something that we're doing now that, like...
We'll probably get crucified for drinking out of cups like these.
Yeah, for real. But, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let us know if you enjoy it. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff.
Share.
And,
Share it with your friends.
Yes.
Please.
And, yikes. And, join us next time.
Yes. Thank you for watching.
Bye.